All right, so today we're gonna make some patch panels. We've got some openings in the camper that we need to cover up for things like the tail lights, because I couldn't find ones that cover up the old openings exactly. For things like the water inlet, there's the wires that come in the front. There's just some things that I've decided it's just gonna be easier to start fresh, even though it won't be, perfectly original. That's okay. I made one of these to cover the vent coming out for the old stove vent, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think it looks really clean, riveted on. So I didn't do a real good job explaining when I did that. So I'm down at my workshop again. They let me use it for this project. But the first one I make, I'm gonna show you guys how to do just with simple tools the way I did the last one. I've got a brake and a shear here, which kind of simplifies this, but this can be done without those things. So let's do the first one together. So I've taken some measurements and I've added to the size of the opening to make sure we have enough to actually fold back around. Let me show you one that I did already. This is just gonna kind of show you what we're going for here. So this is one for the tail lights. This one's pretty big. We've essentially folded over the back, kind of just hemmed the edges, and we mitered them before we did that. This adds quite a bit of strength to this versus just the plain piece. It's super flexible. So the way I did this originally was to use a folding tool, sheet metal folding tool. These are used in HVAC a lot. This one's made by WIS. It's got a 1-inch side and a 3/8 side, and this allows us to basically bend this metal. This metal is a little thicker, I think, than what this is probably rated for, but it does work. I'm gonna do this little one with a 1-inch fold. That big one I did on the brake, and I did it with a 1/2-inch fold. I think the 1-inch is probably better. So we're trying to make something that has a finished size of 5.5 by 3.5. So with a 1-inch fold all the way around, we're gonna add 2 inches to that. So we want 7.5 by 5.5. So what we're gonna do is go ahead and measure that out. Okay, you have a really sharp blade on your knife here. We're just using a utility knife, that's it. And if this were a bigger piece, I'd be clamping this down. I'm gonna try to do it without clamping here, just to keep this moving. Line this up, and we're gonna give it a good score with that knife a couple times. This is aluminum, so it scores pretty easily. And so now we've got a nice deep cut in that. Now I could use a grinder, I could use snips, but those don't leave a very nice edge in aluminum. So I'm gonna put this right at the edge of my table, and I'm just going to fold, and you can see that folded pretty nice. If I had done that without the score, it wouldn't have done that. You kind of see the edge there. So once it's folded like that, you've established that edge, and now it's just a matter of breaking it off. A couple more bends, and we're off. A little bit of a sharp edge, but nothing like this edge that I cut with the grinder. So now we'll go ahead and make our cut in the other direction the same way. Okay, use the file, clean up the edges of this a little bit. The next step is going to be to mark in 1 inch on all 4 sides. I'm just gonna use my straight edge and a tape measure. I'll measure in 1 inch and then draw a box on here. Okay, so it's a little hard to see, but I've got a rectangle marked 1 inch in all the way. So before we can actually fold this in, what we have to do is kind of account for these corners here. And so what we're gonna have to do is essentially clip the corner off of this. So let me draw it with my speed square here, and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, got this laid out. Let's see if I can get it so you can see it. Got these 45-degree lines. So I'm gonna go ahead, score, and snap off those 4 corners now. There's our finished product. So now we're ready to bend. We're gonna take the 1-inch side of our bender here. We're gonna slip this in carefully till we're at our mark there. And then we're gonna go ahead and fold this up. So we're gonna do this now for all 4 sides and just get them started like that. And the power's back on. That's awesome news. All right, so we've got all 4 of these bends started now. You can only go so far before you start bounce it off the other sides with the bender. And so that's where our little sheet metal bending tool comes in. And so this is a little awkward. You kind of have to see just where it'll fit, and you're just going to make small bends a little at a time and get it basically as far as you can until you're hitting the other side here. And I'm just going to do that with these two long sides because it fits right now. It doesn't fit on the short side. So I bent it most of the way down. At this point, you switch to holding it like this, and you bend it the rest of the way. It's a little bit tough to get started on this aluminum, but it actually bends really nice. Now I just scratched that up pretty good there because it slipped, but we'll come in with a sander, kind of even this all out before it gets primed. So don't do what I did and let the bender slip. But we'll go ahead and get this other side folded down, and you can see this is starting to come together. So we just got to do these short sides now. And there we have it. Nice, strong. Now I will say I don't like how far apart these corners ended up, and I think part of that was that I just didn't have the bender all the way down to the line. So I'm probably going to remake this one. This should be a tighter corner. If we look at the other one I made, it's also not perfect, but it's a lot tighter on these corners to the point where butyl tape and maybe a little bit of caulk will seal that no problem. But you get the idea. That's how you would make this. It's the same process for the bigger ones. You just have to go down the line with the benders nice and easy and get it started. It also looks like this is probably not square because I was in a hurry making it. So definitely not square. So this is just going to be a practice. The rest we're going to do on a shear and on a brake, but it's the same exact process, at least to get the fold started, and then we'll use the hand bender. So I'm going to snap to some time lapse here so you guys can see the process of making the rest of these. Okay, here's our finished piece. You can see it's got a scratch in it there. I'll give that a good sand before, but we've got some 1-inch hems. I actually went a little too tight on these corners and I had to file some and kind of tap them down. I also used the hammer and just did some light tapping around the edge. You don't want to go too crazy here, it could split, but that just gave it a nice tight hem. So not perfect, couple little dents and dings, but it'll match the rest of the trailer. So maybe that'll make it look more original. So there's that one. This one's going to be for the water inlet, and we're going to go ahead and just keep cranking out some more here. All right, we got a nice warm December day. It is New Year's Eve, and we are gonna work on just a few little projects today while it's nice out before the sun goes down. We're gonna work on putting some patch panels on. I have a bunch of pre-made patch panels, and we're just gonna start one by one, removing what's in their place and riveting on these new ones. Really, there's not much to this. We're gonna put butyl tape on the back. We're gonna carefully drill holes, and then we're going to rivet them on. it's been pretty hard to work on the camper with the cold winter weather, but I've got all these patch panels on. I realized a couple that I forgot that I'll show you, but I'll show you what we got going on. And then I discovered some water the other day. I didn't do a lot of filming on the back panels because the weather was really crappy, and it had just finished raining. And so apparently a lot of that made it inside. And so today we're going to try to figure out why. I believe it's because I never caulked that rear window. We'll look at that and I'll show you what we got. So up here we've got this one from the old wiring. We're not going to come out there anymore. Here we've got the old furnace exit. That was going to be a sprayer nozzle, but I realized I don't really want that, so I just went ahead and covered that up. This one here is the water heater. This is just a temporary cover that's screwed on. This will have a real cover later that'll actually have the water heater grill. And then this is our water outlet. This is still going to be that, but I couldn't find one that was really sized the way I wanted it to be. So we're going to do that a little different, and it'll sit on top of this patch panel. And then on the back here, I had to strip some paint around these. The primer really didn't stick well underneath the old lights. I'll probably show you guys another video how I did that. I used a diamond wire wheel that I borrowed from work that worked really nice on this. Got it down to bare aluminum, and then we've got these two panels on. I think these are pretty watertight, but what we're going to do today is we're going to come trim the butyl tape on these, caulk those. I suspect some of these seams that got kind of messed with when I was messing with this back wall and window might be letting some water in, but more than that, I suspect that it's probably some of it at least coming in around the edges of this window. There is butyl tape, but just from what I've seen, I don't really trust butyl tape for that. So we're going to come trim all the way around and then caulk that, and then we're just going to come in like any of these kind of weird spots like here and here. I opted to not fully remove these panels to butyl tape that, and so we're going to be trusting on caulk. A lot of people probably not going to like that, but that's how we're going to do it. I think I may also come in and trim some of this out because I wondered if water could possibly be sitting here and seeping its way in, so we may trim that and put a very narrow bead of caulk as well. But really we're just trying to figure out where the bulk of this is coming in. It seemed like it was here and then maybe a little bit here, but I really haven't had any come in until we had like 5 inches of rain and then 5 inches of snow and then a bunch of rain after. So we're gonna see, but for now we're gonna focus on getting this caulked today and try to seal this up. I got that caulking done. It's raining today, so we're going to see how this does. We'll check in on the next video, see how the caulk held up. I may replace some of that caulk with seam sealer. I'm kind of looking into that as an option, as I'm realizing that painting on top of that might not be the best in terms of longevity. So it's something I'm looking into. I'm also exploring some ideas with potentially painting this at this stage rather than waiting to the end like I had originally planned. I'm just realizing how many holes and things I'm about to cut, and like lights that I'm putting on, and like all the stuff that it just would be really hard to mask around. And if those things get switched out down the road, I could see it affecting how the paint holds up. So it's something I'm exploring. We'll talk about that more. Probably going to dig into some of the plumbing stuff up next. And we're just starting to get the inside laid out so we can start building that out soon. So we're really getting to the fun part here. I'm really excited for the next couple of videos. So really appreciate you sticking around for this. It's been a long process, those of you that have been following since the beginning. And if you're new around here, I appreciate you checking it out. Hopefully this year's going to be a big year for this project. We're just waiting for the weather to get a little bit better. So thanks for watching. And if you could subscribe to this channel, Baker Makes It, I'd really appreciate it. And we'll see you on the next one.